Welcome back to another edition of the Talking National League podcast. And I'm joined by a very special guest. It's not a player. It's more than just a manager. It's Dorking Wanderers CEO Marc White. Marc, it's a pleasure to bring you on. Firstly, I think the first thing that we have to talk about is how's it going down at Dorking?
Well, I mean, it's all fun. It's good fun, mate. I'll say that, Luke. Mm-hmm. It's all pretty new to us. We've been enjoying the bigger crowds, publicity, exposure. Results have been a little bit predictably poor, really. We brought in like 2 players and we lost sort of 6. Yeah. We had no time to recruit. I haven't really gone into detail about this, mate. So I think you pay an educated interest into the league. So I'll bother you with it, but you might remember the season went on for like a record-breaking time last year, something like 10 and a half months. And we went up through the playoffs and we just had no time. Obviously, we couldn't. This is the one level of football where it goes from sort of regional to national. Mm-hmm. So whereas normally we're pretty proactive in knowing what we're going to do the year after, we hadn't done anything. And then when we were fortunate enough to get the promotion, we had like 4 weeks. So I just thought, bugger that. We'll just ride it out and we'll just see once the league starts, we'll just start piecing it together. So on the field, disappointing, annoying, because we're not used to getting beat, certainly in the manner we have. But off the field, been brilliant, to be fair, mate. Really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's a huge adjustment, isn't it? Especially for a side that's never entered the National League before, like Dorking Wanderers. Do you feel now you've been a little bit brought back down to earth with 3 losses on the bounce in the National League?
Well, to be fair, it's what we expected anyway, to be honest. We've had a promotion every single 2 seasons. So, like, we're pretty experienced and accustomed to, 1, people having high expectations of us, but 2, we know what that first year is going to be like in a new league. We don't try and win it. We don't, it's always nice to compete. But realistically, we're always consolidating. We're always finding our feet. That's been the same way since we started. So nothing's changed, but we are perennial winners and we don't like getting our asses smacked. Do you know what I mean?
So yeah, exactly. I get what you mean. And I'm sure a significant loss for you was obviously losing Odalaka, who's gone to join Chesterfield. But I think it's something that you'll agree with. You can't hold a player back if they're wanting to go on for a new thing in the league.
Yeah, we lost Oldacre. We lost Jason Pryor, Wes Fogden, Kane Wills. I haven't really gone into detail about it, to be honest, but I'm pretty cool with things. I just let other people do the talking. Yeah. And then, eventually we do the walking. That's like how it's always been. We I think probably the best winger in the league will be our winger. I think most people know that. We've got a winger called Matt Briggs, who real box office player. He'll be the best winger in this division. And he done his ACL back end of last campaign. He's due back in November. His the other winger we've got, Jimmy Mewett. He hasn't started a game yet. He got injured in the last game of pre-season. Barry Fuller, our captain, shattered his big toe in the last game of pre-season. He's only just come back now. We've had all sorts of injury issues on top of the fact that we turned over quite a few players that couldn't do the National League. They couldn't do the travelling of the National League. They had jobs, that whole kind of standard thing. So we're massively in transition, and all the sort of heavy defeats have done is accelerate the speed that we're thinking, really.
Yeah, exactly. And it's something that when I've looked at Dorking, like I watched the Oldham game where you were, I wouldn't say unfortunate, but you were coming back, and I think if the game went on any longer, it was looking like Dorking could get back into the game. It seems like the fitness levels at Dorking are very high, and it seems even with the previous campaign with the playoffs, against Ebbsfleet, which we'll talk a bit more in greater depth later on in the episode. It seems like the fitness is very high, and it's something that you demand as a manager just based off what I've seen. Is that something that you'd agree with?
Yeah, definitely. Like, the facts are the facts, right? We had against Boreham Wood, we had 66% possession, and against Wrexham, we had 67. right? So
5-0
we had 67% possession and lost 5-0. Basically, we've just been defensively really bad, and the teams with the much higher quality have capitalised on that. But we've actually, between both boxes, as they say, we've actually been pretty good. And you know, the side I've really rated that we played was Gateshead. I thought that was excellent, and we beat them. We played really well that day rather. So we're doing loads of things well, but listen, it's unforgiving. We've our keeper that was first choice last year is a professional cricketer, and again, I was pretty easy about that. I didn't really bother. You know, even we just sort of went with what we had. We've got a really competent keeper, Slav, but you know, Dan Lincoln's our last year's number one. He's back this week. So there's loads of things in transition. We're pretty cool about it, to be honest. So, you know, we're looking forward to teaching people a lesson at some point. That's what we've always done.
Yeah. I was just looking at the statistics here, and Dorking have actually had the highest, second highest percentage of possession. Is that something that you also like to implement too? And when you look at the actual placement of Dorking, you look at the possession, it seems to be that potentially you should be adding even more goals and potentially, you know, defending slightly better as well, because, you know, the facts do speak for themselves. If I'm brutal, you know, you've got the worst defence in the league at this moment in time. However, you seem to be creating chances and keeping a lot of the ball too.
Yeah, it's just both boxes, mate. You know, the facts are the fact that one of the good things about this level, as you just reeled off there, is that you can get the stats. You can't hide from them. Defensively, poor. Attacking wise, not made enough of our possession. It's literally both boxes. But you know, if you think about it, really, we've got a lot of boys in our team that have been with us and come through 2 to 3, 4 promotions. Yet, you know, you can play a team like Wrexham and have 67% possession. That's something else, really. And it gives you something to work with, Luke. You know, as a manager, you're not sitting there thinking, blimey, we can't touch the ball. You know, we can't get near these people. We've had listen, we might lose our next few games. We've got a lot of injury problems. I'll be honest, right? I've got to be straight. If it could go wrong at the moment, it is. We've lost Josh Taylor, Alfie Rutherford, on top of all the names I've mentioned already. But against Wrexham, we were doing really well. Ed Harris, our centre half, took an elbow, had to go off at 0-0. 10 minutes later, 3-0. We've had we're having a bit of bad luck, mate. To be fair, as well as learning, it's like very unique. Actually, I was saying to somebody the other day, very unique. We've got a sprinkling of kind of everything. We've got like a new league to learn about. We've got, you know, new squad we've got to kind of bring up to speed in this division. We've got a load of injuries that are unprecedented. So sort of everything going on at once, really, mate. I don't see it getting any better for a few weeks. So we're a team called Halifax on Saturday, so they might be playing us at a good time.
I'm hoping so, because we desperately need the 3 points. We haven't won at home yet this season. But yeah, I think overall you look at the rise of Dorking, you would expect a time where they, you know, do sort of stalemate in a division like they have done at this moment in time. I think the main priority for you is this season, you might disagree with me here, is to survive the National League and then build on that. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, listen, this is a good division to be in, right? I mean, that's the fact of the matter. You wouldn't think that if you're one of the teams on the way down, but you would think if you're on a team on the way up. National exposure, TV money, attendance is bigger than ever. That's where Dorking Wanderers are. We're sort of, you know, enjoying the journey. I mean, look, you never know. 4 downs, always, you know, anyone can get sucked into 4 down. I'd be surprised if it was us, to be honest. We've been doing it a long time. We know what we're doing, but you know, you've got to respect this division. It's a tough one, but our record speaks for itself, Luke. You know, so we'll continue to do what we've always done and hope it's good enough. You know.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, that's something that I do want to speak about. 1999, Dorking Wanderers were formed. What's sort of the concept behind that? Like, I've seen online that it's all about the Wimbledon, like your Wimbledon support, I believe yourself, prior to, you know, all the financial issues happening with MK Dons. You know, we don't need to go into that. What was it about Dorking Wanderers for you that you chose them and you decided to build a club in Dorking?
Well, it would just be me and my friends just started a team. It'd be like you, Luke, messaging 11 boys saying let's start a Saturday team. That's what it was, and we didn't have a pitch. We had nothing, so we paid a fiver, and we rented a pitch for 50 quid, and that's how the club was born. We used to go down the pub, have a drink. We used to get the pub sponsored the kit, the Royal Oak, and it was just designed to be fun, mate. That was it. It just progressed from there as we kept winning, really.
Yeah, proper football. And I know something when probably you were younger. Did you ever believe of, oh, when I'm old, I want to run a football club and have all these aspirations of doing that?
No, not at all, really. It was just a sort of hobby that accelerated. So like that's the only way I can word it. I think I got a taste for it, really. I got a taste for the sort of like football, and this is why I'm quite passionate about things, and that's why I'll never change the way I am. Do you know what I mean? Like football is probably undervalued, really, for the belonging it gives a lot of people. And I was quite vocal with all the criticism football got when around about the whole taking the knee, Black Lives Matter, and all these different equality campaigns. And whilst I sort of totally agree with the context behind them and the importance of raising awareness, barely anything, gets spoken about football. And I can say from being in it 23 years, it's probably the most inclusive sport in the country. People of all backgrounds, ages, non-league football particularly. You get a Halifax on a Saturday, you'll see a lot of people, single adults, you'll see a lot of people, where it's their purpose. So, I think maybe for me, that's football found me. I found football, and I think that's the enthusiasm just come from there, really.
Yeah, it does take over your life, doesn't it? Football, for myself, since I've got into it, now I love it. It's my sport, and it's something that sort of does take over my life, and it's something that I think everyone, if you're having a bad week at work or whatever, you can go to the football on Saturday and forget about it. It's a bit of an outlet, isn't it?
Massive outlet, but not just for the supporters, but the volunteers, the volunteers around football. For the players, I've been in many changing rooms where, players have got an escape. Football's a fantastic vehicle for that, and it's much undervalued in that respect. Not many people talk about that, but if you're involved in the game, you know that. So I like to try and what we've always tried to do as a football club is keep things real. We're not going to sound over professional when we're not. We're going to keep things real. We're always going to be that sort of like pub side, if you like, really, to be honest. That mentality of we're in it for the right reasons,
Yeah, I know there's something on like the Wrexham documentary, and it's about an underdog story. And you look at Dorking, and do you like to see yourself as a huge underdog at the moment?
Yeah, we have to be, don't we? Like we are the ultimate underdog story, really. Fairy tale, really. No massive benefactor, just hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, and come from the very lowest level of football to the highest level of non-league football in 22 completed seasons. So it's unbelievable. We're proud of the fact that no one's ever done it before. We've got the British record for promotions. So we are proud of that, mate, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's something that I'm sure everyone, surrounded by Dorking will be proud of that sort of growth as a football club. 11 promotions and you're in the 16th tier. I don't think we can forget that. You've basically took a club from nothing and you've took them all the way up to the highest tier of non-league, like you've mentioned. Starting at the bottom, what was it like starting at that bottom and the growth? Did you sort of ever feel like, oh, this could potentially happen, we can keep growing and growing and growing, or was it like, just go with it?
Literally go with it. Still is to this day. Honestly, I mean, we're having to do developments now at the ground to build an away end, and we didn't have any plan for that. We had no money for that. We're having to piece it together, fund it together. We've always just gone with the flow and attracted a lot of people and support nationwide, really, with that authentic kind of story, and I think that's why we're popular at what we do.
Likeable.
We're
I'd say
popular.
likeable as well. From
Yeah,
my perspective, I looked at Dorking and thought, oh yeah, it's a new sort of club in the National League, and I think a lot of people think of that. They think of Dorking and they're quite likeable.
yeah. I mean, I just think it's like, unfortunately with football, like so many clubs are been used and abused by different owners and stuff like that. And then if I look at Oldham, like when we played Oldham, and the people come out, 10,000 came out, brass bands, national anthem, and what it meant to the people in the town to get it back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like football, football clubs themselves. It's what's good about Dorking is it's kind of had one careful owner, if you like, and and it's come from nowhere. And I think people resonate with how difficult that must have been, and get behind us.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And you look at them now and how far they've come. Like I keep going back to. There's been a lot of historic stories behind Dorking and the rise. A lot of good moments for you, including Southend, including Stockport. Which would you say is the peak of that and the best one?
Well, to be honest, we really enjoyed Stockport, right? Because I mean, I think my team 3 years ago, to be honest, was better than the one I've got now. If I'm honest with you,
Yeah.
I think losing certain players that couldn't play the National League as temporarily sort of weakened us. But we went up to Stockport for a replay. We should have beat them at home. They was in the top 5 at the time, and in the programme it said where were they 15 years ago. There was a feature, and it had Stockport playing Man City, and it had us in like Division 4, the Croydon District Football League, like a park league.
Yeah.
And then we beat them 4-0, and we played really well. And to this day, when Stockport asked their fans the best goal ever seen at their ground ever, all the old boys say our goal. We scored a goal that was back to front, one touch, unbelievable. And we literally had the night of our lives in terms of everything went right. And on the way back in the coach, we just had to pinch ourselves really from where we'd come from to do that.
I know it sounds like a bit of a cliche, but it's team spirit, isn't it, at Dorking? Especially those times as well, like you've said. And what was it like at the start then with the stadium, etc.? Obviously, you worked firstly at Meadowbank. How did everything like that come about?
Well, as you go through all the leagues, Luke, you have to keep improving it. So about 4 or 5 leagues, we didn't need to do anything. Then we had to put a rope around the pitch. Then it went from a rope to the changing rooms had to be a certain distance from the pitch. Then you need a path, then 3 paths, then a shelter, then 2 shelters, then floodlights. And basically, it's just we had to move from the £50 a match venue because it was council owned. We couldn't build on it. We found a field. It had no power, no water. So we had to build this ground from scratch called West Humble. It had nothing there. We spent all summer developing this derelict site, made a ground that was fit for the Isthmian League, so step 4. God knows how we've done that. I'll never know to this day. And then fortunately, the local authority recognised our good work, and we managed to, in partnership with them and our local county FA, Meadowbank Stadium was born, and that's where we are now. We're still developing that the whole time to keep up with where we are.
Yeah, it's just an enjoyment factor, isn't it? Building a football club from the bottom and taking it, as far up as possible. And I think it's a prime example of that, what's happening at the moment. Like you mentioned, are you wanting to, add to the stadium even more, put more stands in the latter future?
Yeah, we've got to do an away end at the moment. At the moment, it's flat standing. It's pretty poor. But what we lack in facilities, we make up for the way we treat other clubs. Our mindset is if you're coming round our house, do you know what I mean? Then we'll get the best shiner out. And, you seldom hear a bad word from real football fans. We go out of our way to be hospitable. We really enjoy the journey. We get football for what it is. We're not deep rooted in rivalry. We're just good people that want to do well for ourselves and the local community.
Yeah, and you just love it. Like you've mentioned, you're not doing it, to create rivalries like other clubs have. It's just all about enjoyment and growing as a football club, and that's something that I'm sure you want to keep going in the future at Dorking. How's that sort of like support grown then since you first started?
Well, obviously we had nobody, it's just us. So that's what I mean. So I have to pinch myself. We've had several games that are sold out at 3,500. We got about 500 season ticket holders. Like, we never had a single supporter, and it just, maybe the first person that ever watched us was about 7 years in. I don't know. When we play county league football, so that's like, Northwest County Step 5. I think we had our average attendance was about 35. And it's just gone up as people have really engaged with the project. And we've had like a YouTube series in the last few years. It's enhanced that. So now we get a lot of people from all over the world, literally. That we've had a couple that flew from America to meet me. God knows why. We get people fly from Scotland all the time to watch us. It's pretty mad.
Yeah, it must be amazing. I think that's something that you do have to compliment the bunch of amateurs for. How did that all start then, with the bunch of amateurs getting involved with Dorking Wanderers?
Well, it's just Rich Phippen. He's used to work for Sky back in the day. He'd done a little bit of, looking at doing a few fly on the wall stuff with a couple of local sides, and then he just thought he wanted to do it. He was sort of doing it piecemeal, local teams, and then he came to us, and the rest is history, really. And I think, he's the best way of wording it is he's not in it for money, really. He's in it because he loves filmmaking. And what he loved about us was that we would show him it, like, warts and all. Me swearing, shouting.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's class.
Yeah, being candid, letting people see what football's all about. Because the reason it's so popular is because people love the fact football's still like that. Because if all you do is watch Sky Sports, you wouldn't even know anything about football. You'd know nothing about it. So I think it's really popular, and it's done wonders for the club. And Richard's a really good guy and a phenomenal at his job. And we're now just hoping that the National League teams embrace it. They're not boring about it,
Yeah, it's a true reflection of like you as a person and the whole of Dorking Wanderers. Now, I've watched the series. I was watching it a couple of months ago when I first discovered it, and I thought, wow, this is quality, and it shows you everything you need to know about Dorking Wanderers, the changing room, everything, the sort of atmosphere behind it, and it is quality, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. And do you know what's sad is that is how it is in loads and loads of changing rooms and places. But people don't really see it anymore like they used to. And also with the younger culture now, I'm quite well known for saying I don't like kids, right, in football. But like, no, you're good, Luke.
I might be off. Yeah, I'm off then.
Yeah, no, but what I mean is, like, kids now are brought up with this horrible culture of they can't speak, they can't, they're not allowed to win, not allowed to lose. It's all about competing. Like, they're not allowed to be too vocal. It's like all about development, all that crap. So I like the fact that people can look at it and go, wow, when I get in an adult changing room, that's what it's going to be like. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to be told, don't mess up. Do not mess up. Do you know what I mean? So
it's class, yeah. It's just like it is generally when you watch it from my perspective. It's like a load of mates in the changing room. You see, and I think there was a line that you said. I think it was half time where there were a lot of free kicks at one of the games. They said, "You give any more free kicks away or any more bookings, and you're getting fined." And you thought, "Wow, that's class."
Yeah. I was worried about us losing. So I mean, to be fair, I've actually never used that before or after that. I remember it, County Cup game at Hawley. And I was worried about they were 4 leagues below, and I didn't want to get embarrassed. And I said, "Listen, you fucking let me down here. You're in trouble." But listen, I just think it's so well received universally that it just tells you what is. It almost verifies it's on the fly on the wall status. People love it.
Yeah, and I'll agree. It is just class, just having that sort of concept of looking in at what football really is, which it is. Where you look at, like you've mentioned, Sky Sports. There's nothing there that actually tells you the true portrayal of football in general. And with Dorking having this sort of documentary about him, it truly shows you what football is about with the changing room and everything like that. As a manager, then for you. Do you see yourself as like a mate with the lads? Is that something that you always want to try and be, just like one of them, but the guy who manages it?
Yeah, I think that's a good description, really. I think I just want to get. I mean, I'm lucky because the more success you get, the more respect you get naturally. Also, because I own the club, again, people are going to give me more respect as well because I pay the wages. But
yeah,
you know what? In leadership, and I've been a leader my whole life, you get the best from people when you're honest with them, when you're fair with praise, fair with criticism. If people know what to expect and what's expected of them, you normally get more out of them. And if you are always reasonable, if you're as likely to say well done as you are you're sacked, then people always respect you more. So I just operate that. It's never personal. We'll leave it behind in the changing room. We'll have a load of fun with it. And across the course of a season, it's a journey. And players peak and trough. I make mistakes and then don't make mistakes. I've made enough mistakes this season to last a lifetime, to be honest. But that's what football's about. Like it's that it's having that moment like we had last year when we scored that goal with 5 seconds to play in the playoffs. And that evening, it's
the
just
adrenaline must have just been.
Yeah, it's just like football's all about having those moments where you all sit down and look at each other and go, yeah, that was worth it. That 9-10 months of tough school was worth it.
Yeah, and I think when you look at a season, especially when you watch like a documentary like The Bunch of Amateurs, think, it's a long season, every game's tiring, but to have like a perfect ending like that, it's what football's all about, isn't it? Like you've mentioned.
Yeah, that was that ending was unbeatable. I just don't know how we'll ever top it, if I'm honest. I mean, FA Cup maybe third round at Old Trafford or something. I don't know how we'll ever beat it because the ending to that was phenomenal. And it was a real fairy tale because for those that haven't followed it that closely, because they've got their own clubs. We was top during COVID. Best part of 8 points clear, games in hand, looking like winning the league. Got called off, got robbed. I was really disappointed with the National League. Brian Barwick, the old chairman, and then we had to go do it all again. And then we had the biggest injury crisis we've ever had.
Yeah,
it was a nightmare.
It must be just so frustrating.
Yeah, it was. We managed to get runners up and then nick it through the playoffs. So that was jubilation on another level.
Yeah, especially when you think of the opposition as well in that final, Ebbsfleet. Although you finished high up in the division, look at Ebbsfleet. They've had previous experience in the National League before. They've been an established National League club for a number of seasons. And how it was going, it was always like, how Ebbsfleet actually going to do this and they're going to go up. And it's going to be one of those seasons for Dorking, again, another season in the National League South. And it sort of shows what Dorking's all about. It's that sort of never say die attitude, isn't it, in the latter stages of the game.
Majorly never say die. And, we're not a club to write off. We're not a team to write off. That's not going to change. That's our legacy, and that won't change because we're in this division.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think when I looked at that game and how you equalised in the last minute and then you managed to go and, win at the end, the scene just by yourself, by the fans, it was such a magical moment. It was like a fairy tale ending, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've never been involved in anything like that, to be honest. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that was that's when it all came came home really and woke up next day just thinking, blimey, what have we done? We're in the National League, and 12 promotions. That was our 12th promotion, and pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, it must have been, and especially the fashion, like you mentioned, how you did that. What was that like changing room like then? So going into half time, full time, into extra time. How did everything plan out for you? Was it all about just keeping me cool? I need to speak to the lads once you got that equaliser.
Yeah, like I'm very very much in control as a manager. I've been managing for 1,500 games or something silly. So you kind of do learn how to get into a good place. All your planning's done. You know your A, your B, your C plan. But on the day, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. We had injuries galore, people hanging on for dear life, cramping up. It was just in the gods that day. It was just one of those. I mean, anyone that's involved in football knows sometimes it's your day, and that was our day.
Yeah, it was just like get through to that full time whistle in extra time. I just remember watching the whole episode and the amount of players that were getting cramp. It was ridiculous. It was like every single player just getting affected by a little niggle or an injury
Yeah,
or
we were done.
something
We were
like that.
done. We were completely done. And yeah, it was. I mean, I remember looking at the referee to put the whistle in his mouth, and I just remember putting my hands up. And I don't often celebrate, really, to be fair, but I remember putting my hands up, thinking, "Wow, we've really pulled that off."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, would you say for you then you're a performance player? You want to see a good performance? Do you take more from that, or do you think it's more about the result at the end of the day?
No, definitely performance for me. I mean, it's one of those ones you could argue it both ways, couldn't you? If someone said, "Well, come on, Mark, would you take the results to stay in the National League?" Then yeah, of course you would. But the reason people watch us is because we play great football, possession based. We're attractive on the eye. That's why we've grown our season ticket. That is our brand. So, performance really has to come first. And we've got to find a way of obviously making sure we get a good points tally at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and do you think this season now, going back to this season, do you think this season, like we've mentioned, is about stabilising? Does that sort of, I wouldn't say frustrate you, but think, right, we want to go on and get into the Football League for the first time?
No, I'm definitely fine stabilising this year because like the journey's been really erratic and quick. The last 3 divisions we've gone through have been literally in the last 5 years. So it's a lot of growth really quickly. And people obviously wrongly go, "Oh, Dorking, they're small, they're this, they're that," but they're just people that haven't done the homework. And we're our aim is to consolidate, obviously, rebuild a team that can beat everybody. My aim would be by probably the new year, we've got a team that can beat everybody in this division. I've done it 10 times over. Don't get me wrong, the stakes are higher because you're up against bigger resources, but I think we've already seen that our possession stats show that we've got a game. Our actual game can comfortably compete with good teams. We've just got to add probably a bit more quality into our game, and we've got to just be smart with how we recruit, and that's what we'll do.
To be fair, when I think of Dorking, like we've got you this Saturday, and I think of Dorking, I always think that's a bit of a banana skin sort of game because no disrespect whatsoever, but when you think of Dorking, because they're newly promoted, you think, oh, we've got to win. That's a must-win game. That is. It's always a banana skin game because you're always like, oh, it's an awkward one to play. You always think, oh, we've got to win, but you know what Dorking are like? They're the sort of team that they can beat anyone. And I think at this stage, I would actually say I think Dorking could beat anybody in this league on the day.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I'm just being honest. We've had half a team. I haven't really gone on about that because I went on the whole of last season about injuries. Like we've had pretty much half a team, to be quite frank. But we've done what we do. We've just played our boys. The boys have given a good account. We've been slapped a couple of times. I'll be honest. It feels, quite innocuously. We were playing really well against Wrexham. Our only centre half got taken off after 25 minutes or 20 minutes. 0-0, we're 3-0 down. 10 minutes later, long throw, blah blah blah. So, deep cross. So, honestly, I'm not really bothered. I'm flattered you say we could beat anybody. I definitely think we could. I think everybody knows we could do that, but we're not anywhere near as dangerous now as we will be. And you can see that from the history.
Yeah. So I should be more scared when we actually go to Dorking than when they come to us.
Yeah, well, listen, we're probably a good time to play us this week, to be honest, mate. Got Barnet Tuesday, good time for them to play us. Just being honest, I don't play games. I say it how it is. But at some point, we're going to go, do you know what? We're getting where we want to be here. I want to get points on the board, that's for sure. We'll be using every trick in the book we can to get points away from home, next 2 games away from home, starting at Halifax. The pitch is the pitch not the best, Luke?
Oh, it's just hard to say because from the stands it looks perfect, and it usually is, but there's a lot of problems because obviously we don't actually own the stadium itself anymore since we went bust and everything like that, but it's all down to the council, and at the minute we have to share it with the rugby club, which isn't too great at this moment in time.
Yeah, not ideal, Luke. Ideally, you can go and...
I don't want to be telling you too much because it's not just a fan, it's the official coach.
Well, no, listen, mate. No, I'm just getting all the reports and analysis today, and there was like a health warning saying be careful with the pitch because I believe they said Halifax. I think Halifax have had the most turnovers in the league, lost the ball the most in the league. And the comment alongside it was, yeah, but be careful, that might be their pitch. And it's the first time someone has said that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you have to tell me something now about Dorking that's massive that I could tell our manager.
Well, we're going to play 3-5-2. We're going to try and score more goals than them, and then they're going to try and counter attack us and say they're crap at the back. So tell them we're not going to change the way we play. That's how it is. If you give me a shout Friday night, I'll give them the team. I'll give them the team in advance.
I do like to mention is the fact that how Dorking play. I think it's something Dorking have always tried to do. They just try to outscore teams. That seems to be sort of the thing they seem to do this season. Is that something that you'd agree with?
100%. We need to. That's how we play. We try to sign, that type of player, and that's what we do. But it is going to be a steep learning curve. There's going to be some real down moments this year. Even when we sort of get back to near full strength, there'll be some question marks we've got to ask ourselves. But we're quick learners, mate. We're quick learners, so we'll work it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you ever feel like when you first came to the National League, and let's say, for example, like you've mentioned, you've gone to Boundary Park, which is Oldham's stadium, and there's a massive crowd from their perspective because of everything going on. Did you ever feel like, what the hell? What are we doing here at this division? Did you sometimes feel a little not out of your depth as a coach, but out of your depth as a club, thinking, how are we playing a club like this?
100%, mate. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I'd be bullshitting if I said, "Oh no," like it is so surreal. I went to watch Chesterfield. I went to watch DJ play Oldacre. We're good friends, and I went to watch them on a Friday night. And it was just like, we don't belong here, to be honest. It was like, how can we compete with the stadia and the setup of some of these clubs in this division? But, it's not all of the clubs. There's a lot of clubs, no disrespect to them. Your Maidenheads and Halifax, looking at the state of play. It's the league's just become a bit of a bottleneck. And also, the other thing I think the league has done, it's become a bit of a haven for clubs to almost reform. If you look at what Stockport done,
even
Oldham,
Halifax, when we first reformed, we were in the Football League, and then everything happened, and now it's like a stalemate. We're just in this division, and we want to get that to the football.
Yeah, but there's cause to be optimistic because a lot of clubs, Chesterfield as well, when they've got to this level, local businessmen have come out, bought them, funded them. So you've just got this thing where there's a bottleneck of big clubs. And then there's a load of clubs and they've been there donkey's years, all the Shock Woking, Bromley. And these are clubs that would be more typical conference clubs. Let's face it, Wrexham, Chesterfield, Halifax, York City even. These are not typical conference clubs. They're football league clubs that have had a bad decade.
Yeah, maybe 2 decades from Halifax's perspective. But for you personally, would be 3 values that you always look at in a player when you go to sign them? What would they be?
Well, I like players that keep the ball, right? I like players that not they don't jump around different clubs, and I like players that play like men. And I don't know, you're allowed to say that these days. I don't know, but players that are leaders as well. That's
Yeah.
what I look for.
Yeah, exactly. And is there any like rules for you that you think, depending on what a player does, anything that you'd say is a total no for you personally as a manager?
Yeah, if they're on social media talking about themselves all the time, hate it. If one of my players went on social media and said, "We lost 3-1, but I scored," but all that crap, don't like it. I had a player, Jason Pryor, best player the club's ever had. We lost him. All I do is talk about him like he's dead. He's not dead. He's only just left us. And Jason Pryor used to post. The only time he ever posted on social media was holding a trophy. And I used to say to my players, just trust me. The only time you ever need to go on social media is when you got the trophy in your hand as a winner. Don't worry about the rest. I hate that. I hate it a mile off. My players don't do it for that reason.
Yeah, are you increasingly proud then of what's actually happened at Dorking since they first started? It's something that you must be, so proud of what you've actually done as a coach, as a CEO, as a chairman, whatever you like to call it.
I've led the way, but there's people involved now. Chris Lee and Jason Roberts, Alan Gout, big committee, Matt Howlett, Steve O'Sullivan, the list, his wife. We probably got, I'd say, 50 committee members and/or volunteers, and maybe a dozen of those are full-time staff. We're very big setup. I'm very lucky. I've got a lot of great people around me that work really hard. We've got a massive academy, so I'm really proud. Of course, it's hard. Everywhere I go, people talk about it, and I'm obviously really, really proud. But to be honest with you, I'm always thinking about Halifax away or Barnet away. I'm just thinking about the next game.
Yeah, just taken away from that sort of media exposure. You also have a females team, don't you now?
Yeah. My friend Callum Best, who's the son of the famous George Best, he heads that up as chairman. We've got a BBC documentary coming out on that on BBC Three next week.
Yeah.
That I'm in as well. Callum's obviously in, and all the girls, and that's interesting to watch. And I've learned an awful lot about ladies football.
Yeah, I think the Euros is a prime example of that, isn't it, as well, of what England women did. I'm sure it's something at Dorking that's sort of improving it even more.
Yeah, it's a great time to be involved, and when you're in men's changing rooms your whole life, you don't realise what desire there is really out there in the female game, but it's massive, it's gigantic, probably the fastest growing in the country, and so we're doing our bit with that as well, and we're really enjoying it.
Do you plan one day then, once you leave, which will obviously end up happening at some point, do you want Dorking Wanderers to remain as a club and still progress?
Yeah.
Is that
just going to keep going. Just going to keep going as much as we can. Try and keep our real morals and framework behind what we do, and just keep trying to go through the leagues.
Yeah, would it be something for you then potentially in the future? And people have actually asked me to say this as well, to take Dorking into the full-time module.
Yeah, I think we'll have to at some point, but we're just sort of sussing it all out. Really, there's no doubt. The difference in terms of organisation is massive. Coaching to strategies, taking them on the field, and actually, working on things that you've been looking at in the classroom. At the moment, we get them Tuesday, Thursday nights after work.
Yeah.
Realistically, that makes us second favourites, most weeks, but we'll work it out.
Yeah. Does it ever get too much for you then, being the chairman, the manager, with ticketing, all the sort of stuff you have to do behind the scenes for Dorking, as well as the management side? Does it ever get too much?
Not too much. It gets a lot, Luke. It gets an awful lot, but mainly because of the success. It's like if we stayed still, it'd be easy, but because we keep winning, it is difficult. But like I said, great team around me.
Yeah, and I think you'd have to agree. Everyone I've met on social media with Dorking, when I was actually trying to organise a meeting with yourself, it wasn't you in person I spoke to first, it was actually Dorking's media team and how they passed the message on. You get to other clubs, and I've tried it with other clubs in the past, and you don't even get a reply, or you get a message like the chairman's or the manager's too busy at this moment in time. I think that's something that I totally respect Dorking for how they do.
Yeah, that's what we do, mate. I mean, I really value football people like you. That's why I wanted to do it. I was you at your age watching Wimbledon win the FA Cup, and I know what it means. I'm a football fan foremost, and that's why we like to look after other supporters, and we like to do things for people. We like to resonate with everything, So no, like I said, really, we're hospitable. We go out of our way for people, and if other people aren't very nice, we let them know about it along the way because we're in it for the right reasons.
Yeah, you don't distance yourself from the fans, and that's something that I also respect you for. Anyone has anything to say to Dorking in person, any problems, they can just message you, and you'll get a respond like that. And I think that's something that I always respect for Dorking themselves. What would the peak be so far as a Dorking manager? What would be the biggest, victory that you've had, like Southend, Stockport, the promotion? What would be the biggest moment for you?
Well, the promotion had to be because we had 3,500 sell out. We could have sold 7,000, but the ground was too small. Whole town was there, kids in their scripts, aunties, granddads, you name it, mate. That has to be the biggest success we've had in club history. And we need to forget about it soon because we've got to go and build some more success. We've actually got, if you keep it quiet, but we are a really bad cup team. I don't know why. It's got to be my fault. I'm in charge, but we've never actually been to the FA Cup first round ever.
I'll quote you on that when you've got Manchester United away like you're wanting.
Honestly, right? We've never. Anyone who knows the club knows it's like an albatross, right? This year, we enter the competition at the furthest stage we've ever been. That's how bad we are, right? Yeah. So we need to win one game this year. So when it comes out, keep an eye on Dorking.
Yeah, to be fair, both Southend and Stockport were both in the FA Trophy, weren't they?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly,
If Dorking, your time at Dorking was a movie, would the perfect ending be for you? Would it be promotion to the Football League, an FA Cup away game like Manchester United? What would be the perfect ending for you?
Great question, Luke. Yeah, great question. I think I've got to say, God, that's tough. I think being promoted to the Football League, because that's completing non-league football, isn't it?
Yeah.
From the very lowest tier 16 or something, whatever it was, to the Football League. That's kind of like close the book on the chapter, really.
Yeah, I think that would be as well. Even for me as a Halifax fan, since I've started supporting and we've been relegated to the National League North, we've had all those problems. I think for me it would also be, to see Halifax in the Football League would be the perfect ending. And yeah, if Dorking could do that, that would be remarkable if you could take them that far. It already is remarkable what you've done. And I think, like you said, media exposure. I don't think you've seen this. Obviously, you're not on Twitter, but one of the Wrexham co-owners, Rob McElhenney, has actually come on and said thank you to Dorking for their hospitality and mentioned your name in person and Dorking themselves. That's something that you also must be proud of what you're doing off the field.
Yeah, listen, we got really excited by playing Wrexham. And Ryan and Rob tweeted out saying thanks for looking after our fans. We've had about 35 emails from Wrexham fans saying they've never been anywhere so hospitable. They love the town, they love the club. That's what we're in it for. And it was lovely, to be fair. And we're looking forward to going back down there and and seeing them again.
Yeah, you'll certainly get a warm welcome there, I'm sure. But also that it went on Twitter and it went a bit viral as well. Was the fact that apparently you gave 300 quid to one of the bars in Dorking for all Wrexham supporters who were there. Is that true?
Yeah, do you know what it was, right? I woke up at 3 a.m. before the game because I thought I can't wait for this game, and I watched a couple of episodes of This Is Wrexham, which is obviously Sunderland Till I Die-esque.
Yeah.
And I just saw the fans and all that, and I just thought some of these people are going to make a massive round trip today. So as I drove past a pub on the high street, I just stopped at the cash point, left my hazard lights on, run back in the pub and just give him like some money. And the first bloke I saw with a Wrexham shirt, I said, are you trustworthy? He went, yeah. I said, well, look, keep this and get your mate some beers. I just, listen, that's what it's about, football. That is what it's about. So, the problem is now every single club is waiting for me to go down the local pub now and get the money.
You'll get the usual. You'll probably get it 10 times worse than what the opposition manager gets if you don't do that every time now. But I'm sure
exactly.
Wrexham fans will treasure you.
Exactly. I'm feeling generous.
Yeah. It's just a brilliant thing to do, and it's something that Wrexham fans will appreciate. I've seen people come on Twitter saying he's one of the nicest managers I've probably met in person, and that's something that as well, not just on the field but off the field, you have to be so proud of.
Yeah, no, completely. But I just think I don't, as a club and me individually, we don't hide away from what I am or what we are, and we just hope people respect that we don't pretend, we're not wooden, and we are really good people, mate. Like when you've put the nets up, for like literally 8 years, put them in the back of your car, had to go to a camping shop pretty much every Saturday morning to buy pegs, to put the pegs in it. It's true stories. So when you've done that, like you do learn to love football and love all the people in it,
Yeah, exactly. I've been asked to do some quick fire questions that have been sent in by a few of the people who have announced it to. Also, finally, there was a non-league club that obviously Dorking used to play a very long time ago now, I believe. And I was asked to ask him if you actually remembered him. I'm just trying to get it up now, the club itself here. I've almost got it now. Yep. East Dean Football Club. Does he remember visiting East Dean in the West Sussex League?
Yeah, I do. Right. Very much so. No phone signal and the smallest changing room known to man. And a beautiful venue. Seriously beautiful. We missed them days.
Yeah, fair play. And I've seen on the documentary as well, when you've said you've always, I think it was an FA Cup game, it might have been that Horsham game, I believe. And you were saying, we've got to respect the opponents because this is where we've come from.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I really enjoy it. I'll go and watch games at that level all the time, and I love it. I literally love it. I'm just a football fan, really. That foremost, that's what I am.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever with the Premier League nowadays, Championship even? Does it still interest you that nowadays?
Hate it. No, I don't like it at all.
Yeah, maybe not the Championship, but the Premiership certainly.
Nah, none of it. Like I just feel like it's got filthy money. Mm-hmm. And if you, sorry, that's probably disrespectful. I feel like it's got just life-changing money for non-league clubs. And I've obviously been there and I know how many clubs can't afford to paint the stand or they've got volunteers doing work. And the Premier League has a product that is just like huge. And
it is disgusting, yeah.
Yeah, disgusting money. But, you can't, it's difficult. You can't begrudge you can't begrudge, I guess, anybody. It's a product ultimately, so you can't really begrudge to a degree anybody doing well. But I just think it's the volume of money in the game at the top end, and and how little the FA, because the FA ultimately could mandate, more money for use of that product, through the system. They do the best, don't get me wrong, but I just feel like, there's clubs that go out of business,
Yeah.
like Bury and the likes, that the left backs 1 month wages would save. So I just feel like there's something not quite right about that. So I'm not a fan of it personally. Not a fan.
Yeah, I totally agree. You get like the Premiership nowadays, and you just think it's just with VAR, all this sort of rubbish that goes on with it. It's just, I just don't enjoy it anymore. And I think, like you've pointed out there, it also adds to it. You think of Bury, and all it took was for a local club who are big like Man United, Man City to put a bit of cash in, and they could have been saved, and they could still be in the Football League as we speak now. And it's the same with a lot of clubs. And yeah, I totally agree on that. And it is becoming a bit of greed, isn't it, compared to the lower league clubs?
It's just elitist really scenario. It's someone's got to find the sweet spot between allowing people to have a product that flourishes and does well, but equally making sure that the impact on the rest of the game is not felt, if that makes sense. But
Yeah.
I think the EFL do a good job, Mike Parry. Sorry, the EFL do a good job. The EFL do a good job, and of keeping themselves to themselves, and they do okay. But no, I think just in general, the Premier League for me is, I don't like it. No,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you what, if I had £1 for every person that comes to watch us that then says I'm not going to go back to Premier League next year, I'm going to stay watching you, it's huge. People feel a little bit disconnected with it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. When you've got that sort of disconnect, like I'll admit, when I was, and I mean very young now, I was between Man United, Halifax, all this rubbish, and all like. And I was very young when I first got into football, and all it took for me to go on an away game with Halifax. I think it might have been Salford as well. And ever since, I've absolutely loved it. And Halifax has become my team. I just love lower league football because of that, and how connected you are with the players. If let's say I wanted to message a player after a game and congratulate them, they're probably most likely they'll probably go and see it, and that's something that I love about non-league and lower league football itself.
That's it.
Yeah. Anyway, we've got a few quick fire questions that I'd like to ask you. So the first one that we've got is, what if there was any country you could go to? What country would it be?
Oh, Australia.
How come?
Not been there.
Mine, I don't know which one mine would probably be. Probably be. I haven't been to France, so it'd probably be France, somewhere like that. Because I did that at school as well, so I know a bit on that. The next one is favourite food. If you could have anything to eat, what would be your favourite meal?
Do you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. I love Burger King burgers.
I hate them. It's the worst one out there.
Right, like if you do a poll of Big Mac versus Whopper, I'm telling you it'd be 60-40 Whopper. I'm putting it out there, right?
It's got to have mine's out of all of them. It's either Mac on fast food. It's either Mackey's or Subway probably. But then I'd have KFC as well. But Burger King is probably the worst one for me. I went to the airport when I was going on holiday, and they ran out of most of. There were only water left as a drink, and there were these. I had this burger, and it was dreadful, to be honest. Now I'm never going back to Burger King again.
I'm not a massive food. I'm not a food connoisseur, to be fair, if I'm honest with you. So that's why I've given fast food in my answer.
Well, I don't know if you do, but if you, let's say you had a takeaway, would you go like just eat and then try and get a Burger King through that?
Yeah, Yeah, or drive to one, just drive to the nearest one, chill out for a bit. You know what I mean? Like that's what I do. But I'm like known for like on a match day. Like if we win on a match day, then I'll get like sausage and batter and chips, right? And if we lose, I'll get sausage and batter and chips.
So
So
exactly the same. Is that from the
yeah, match
catering you have
days like
at
fish and
Dorking?
chips.
Yeah.
I'm to be fair, I probably need a better diet. To be honest, there you go. Don't copy
But
that.
yeah, on a match day, the catering, do you generally go there with that?
The where?
The like catering where they have like a Cox or whatever, where they have like the food stall.
Nah, not really. I just starve myself, and then on the way home, I'll celebrate or commiserate with some
Yeah.
fish and chips or something.
The next one is: are you a dog man or a cat man?
Dog, I've got quite a few greyhounds,
Mm-hmm.
racing greyhounds. That's a bit of a hobby on the side.
Oh.
Don't like cats. I don't like cats. I think cats are basically relatively scary.
I'm a dog man, but I don't mind cats either. Next one is, boyhood icon. So when you were a young lad, who was your favourite footballer?
Oh, blimey. Favorite footballer. That is not easy. Probably when I was a young lad, favorite footballer. You know what? I think it's just going to be a boring answer and say Gaza.
Oh, Paul Gascoigne. Now, to be fair, even at my age, he's an icon. Him, just his character and everything. Yeah.
Well, that's the. I'm quite a big fan of character, obviously. So I like the fact that he was. He'd have a whiskey before the game, and he was a real football man, Paul Gascoigne.
Yeah. Was that sort of like you when as a young guy when you like I said, I don't know if you wanted to become a manager at the time, but was it sort of like your inspiration, like when you looked at people like Paul Gascoigne who were just proper characters?
Well, I just think if you look at it, Luke, do you know what I mean? Like it's the reason Grealish is so popular, isn't it? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
I think if you live in this country, born and bred, football fans have a real affiliation with that working class mentality on show. People love Grealish because he'd be pictured 2 days earlier with some girl at a nightclub, and he's smiling and he's cheeky and he's brilliant at football, and it's like it's just a natural talent. These are the the working class. Football's a working class sport, and they like working class people.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree. The next one is, what's your favourite TV series or TV program or whatever?
I like things like The Apprentice.
That's that one
Basic
with Alan
things.
Sugar, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't really get a lot of time. I just watch football. I like The Apprentice. It's business based. It certainly used to be more business based than it is now. It's now more of a reality show, but I don't really watch too much. See, I've watched about 4 movies in my time, and I can't remember what they were.
I'm not particularly like into movies or like that. Do you like comedy or like that?
Love comedy. Yeah, I love all comedy, to be fair. Any comedy I can get on with, to be honest. Although it's a shame because a lot of the older stuff is not allowed anymore. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's not to say it's not the right sort of material. It's just a different vibe now with, comedy stuff. But yeah, I love comedy, to be fair.
The final one then is, what's your music taste?
I'm going to say in the main sort of dance music, house music, that sort of thing, to be honest. Although, like most people, if they admit it, I anything could come on and I think, I don't mind this. Do you know what I mean? But, if I was getting ready for a game, then I'd want to listen to something to get me out of bed,
So would Seven like Right Here, Right Now, or something like that? Seven Nation Army.
Yeah, exactly. Anything like that. Yeah, exactly that. Norman Cook, Fatboy Slim. Yeah, anything at all like that, mate. To be honest, you know what I mean. That's the changing room. But mind you, the boys choose the music. in the changing room. Do you know what I mean? So,
is there any song that you keep hearing in the changing room that you like detest?
yeah, one. Barry Fuller's he's done a playlist, Barry Fuller, and he's 38 years old, Barry Fuller. He'll be playing at Halifax this week. He's one hell of a player. He's our captain. And he's done a playlist and he's blatantly got his daughter to do it because he's not that trendy. And it's a really good playlist, but there's one on there. I don't know what it is, but it's horrific. And he won't delete it.
Yeah, I think that more or less concludes the quickfire questions and does also conclude the whole interview. Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure to bring yourself on to do this interview. I do really appreciate you taking the time out to come on. Yeah, like I've said, it's been a pleasure to bring you on.
Anytime, Luke. Good work, mate. Keep up the good work.
Cheers. Cheers to everyone else who's also tuned in to this podcast. I think it's episode 14. We will be back with another podcast next week. And yeah, once again, Mark, it's been brilliant to have you on.